My name is David, and for nearly all of my adult life, I was considered the failure of the family. That isn't self-pity, it's just reality. At dinners, reunions, birthdays, whenever the family got together, I was the one they spoke about as if I were invisible. My brother was the lawyer with the luxury home and golf club membership. My sister married into money and traveled the world. And then there was me, stocking shelves at a grocery store, unloading trucks through the night, cleaning up spills other people left behind. I never hated the work. Honest work never embarrassed me. What embarrassed me was how they looked at me while I did it. Words like simple floated behind my back. Well-meant sighs like, maybe someday he'll figure something out, slipped through conversation. As if my life, my effort, my small paycheck meant I was unfinished, a half-completed puzzle nobody expected to matter. So when my sister announced she was hosting a grand dinner for her husband's 55th birthday, complete with a rented ballroom in the most luxurious hotel in town, I wasn't surprised when my invitation arrived late. It wasn't even properly printed like the others, my name scribbled with a pen as if someone realized at the last second that my absence might look awkward. I told myself to throw it away. I told myself I didn't care. But in the end, I went. Not for them, for me. I wanted to prove, even silently, that I existed. I bought a secondhand suit from a thrift store, one size too tight in the shoulders. I polished my old shoes until the leather nearly cracked, but managed to shine. And I chose my gift carefully, even if it wasn't expensive, a leather-bound journal. I remembered my brother-in-law once mentioning how he wanted to record his ideas, though he never had time. It wasn't flashy, but it was thoughtful, and I hoped secretly it might at least be noticed. When I walked into that glittering ballroom, I felt like a misplaced extra who had wandered onto the set of someone else's film. Crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing freely, waiters gliding like dancers with trays in hand, and my family seated at the head table in dresses and suits that looked pulled from glossy magazines. My thrifted suit clung awkwardly. My shoes creaked in protest. My sister glanced at me, pasted on a polite smile, and greeted me with, "David, you made it. That suit is charming. Retro, isn't it?" The way she said it carried more sting than warmth. Others laughed lightly, pretending it was harmless fun. I took my corner seat. My plate was set, my glass filled only with water. Everyone else sipped wine without thinking, ordering second glasses as numbers were casually discussed, stock portfolios, ski vacations, renovations on homes larger than I could ever dream of owning. And then there was something unexpected. The evidence of it was small at first. An elderly man walked into the ballroom. His jacket was faded, his shoes scuffed, his manner unsure. He stood there, with the kind of embarrassment you can almost feel across the room, searching for someone, clearly lost. Staff moved quickly, ready to escort him out. But for some reason my chest tightened when I saw him. Maybe it was because I recognized that look. When you live life on the edges, people are quick to remind you that you don't belong. I stood before anyone else could stop him. He apologized to me, saying he must have gotten the wrong room, and promised to leave, but I saw his hands shake as he held that old cap. He looked hungry in a way that went deeper than just the stomach. I told him to sit with me, offered him a chair at my lonely corner table. I slid over my plate where most of the food remained untouched and said, "Please, eat." His eyes filled as he whispered thanks, and he ate carefully, steadying himself as if he even felt guilty for accepting. It wasn't long before my family noticed. My sister, perhaps unable to resist an opportunity, raised her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "David, won't you introduce us to your guest?" She glanced toward the man with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Is this one of your coworkers? Or maybe someone you've recruited for one of those grocery jobs you manage?" Laughter rippled around the table, subtle enough to deny later, sharp enough to hit its target. I froze. Heat rolled in my cheeks. I wanted to disappear, to push myself under the table and never return. But the elderly man wiped his mouth gently, then stood. His voice surprised the entire room. It was calm, heavy, and carried authority that demanded silence. "I should introduce myself," he said. "My name was Charles Whitaker, and though you cannot tell by my jacket, I happen to be the majority shareholder of this very hotel you are dining in tonight." The room gasped. All the smug laughter dried up. Suddenly, people didn't know where to look or what to do with their expensive silver forks. Charles went on, his tone never rising, but cutting sharper than any blade. "I prefer from time to time to walk in plain clothes and see how people treat those they think are ordinary. Tonight I was ready to be dismissed, and indeed I was. Until this man, your brother, your relative, gave him his seat, his meal, and most importantly, his respect. He treated me like a person, while the rest of you prepared to laugh me out of the room." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "This man is richer in character than many I have met in boardrooms filled with gold." My sister's face drained of color. My brother, who always loved a condescending smirk, dropped it entirely. No one could summon words. Charles looked at me again. "David, men like you are rare. And I've been searching for someone to help lead a new community initiative, not someone blinded by salaries or appearances, but someone who understands dignity. Will you join me?" The world seemed to stop spinning. My fork nearly slipped from my hand. Me, the family disappointment, being asked to work alongside the owner of the hotel itself. I whispered that I hardly knew what to say. Charles smiled and said, "Say yes." So I did. The mood of that dinner changed completely. Suddenly, my siblings, who had mocked me seconds ago, rushed to apologize, to shake hands with Charles, to mask what had already been seen. The shame filled the air heavier than the chandeliers above. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the one being diminished. It was them. Their laughter had turned to silence, their superiority to embarrassment. Later, when the gifts were opened, my leather-bound journal finally reached my brother-in-law. He ran his fingers over the cover and said softly, almost surprised by himself, This might be the most thoughtful gift we've received tonight." He did not look at me when he said it, but the words hung in the air like something fragile and real. I left that ballroom transformed, not because I now had an opportunity I never expected, but because someone had finally held up a mirror reminding me that kindness itself was wealth, that showing respect to someone overlooked is the greatest demonstration of value a person can give. From then on, I worked with Charles, and over time I realized the greatest reward wasn't even the position. It was the change I saw in my own children when they heard the story. No longer embarrassed by their father with calloused hands, they were proud. They told their friends not in whispers, but with smiles. And even slowly, my sister and brother began to soften. Guilty, perhaps, but changed enough to start volunteering, addressing waiters with dignity, giving their time instead of just their money. As for me, I still keep my job simple. I like simple. It grounds me. But I walk a little taller knowing that one act of kindness turned the weight of years upside down. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Your value cannot be measured in income brackets or spotless titles. It rests entirely in how you treat others when you think no one is watching. One small kindness can redeem years of hurt. One simple gift of dignity can ripple out like thunder. That night, I was mocked for being the poor one who didn't belong. But I walked out not just as their brother, as their cousin. I walked out as proof that the only wealth that matters is compassion. And compassion, unlike money, can never run out.